Hello, and welcome to the Wade Borth Podcast. I'm your host, Wade Borth, and in every episode, my goal is to get you to think differently about how money works and ultimately to empower you to take control of your money and your personal financing system. So today we're going to talk a little bit about my pathway to where I'm at today. I think it's important to understand where people are coming from in order to understand where they're going and why they want to get somewhere. So I thought maybe a lot of the listeners, a lot of people that are viewing this have seen or heard my story before, but I thought why not give you guys just a little bit of insight into how I develop my thought process and why I do what I do, because it's important for people to understand the why behind who they're working with and why it's so important to have that common bond of wanting to achieve the same thing. So just a little bit of background of where I came from. I was born and raised as a farm boy in North Dakota. So I grew up on a farm in a small town, North Dakota, we didn't have a lot. We didn't know we didn't have a lot, but we just, when I look back, it was like, I wouldn't say we were poor, but we didn't have a lot of extras, to put it in a nice way. And then life happened, right? So lost my dad when I was 13. My mom had to sell everything, kept the land and the farm. I gave her the farm, go back, kind of worked in a school to provide clothes and keep my brother and I that were still left at the house. It was the last of 9 children in our house, but there was 2 of us left when my dad passed away. So it wasn't easy. And so it kind of framed how we thought about money and what we talked about around the dinner table. Even if we had discussions about money, which that rarely happened. It's interesting is that we could talk about most things, but money was never brought up. It was like this taboo thing. And I look at that, and I think that's pretty common for a lot of people out there, is that we don't have conversations around money. I'm not really sure why. I try to have a conversation about money. Not that money is the most important thing in our lives, but it is one of the things in our lives that we should have a discussion about as a family. Because why do we do what we do? It's to serve our family. It's to serve who we are. It's to allow us to do certain things. So why not have that discussion? So we didn't have that discussion as a family. And I knew my mother struggled. I knew our family struggled, but I wasn't sure to what extent until I got older. Graduated from high school, went to college. One of the first member of my family that went to college and got a degree in mathematics and economics. It was going to, I wanted to be an engineer and actuary, one of the two. But as I looked around, where I thought I could make the biggest impact was in the financial services industry. So after graduation, I decided not to go into engineering school, take my mathematics degree, my economics degree, and apply it to the insurance industry. That's where my passion lied, because I saw the impact of not having those things discussed when I was growing up. And so I thought I can make a huge impact here. So I've been doing that now for almost 35 years, trying to make an impact in people's lives and making them better for those that I was serving. And I thought I was doing a good job. I thought I understood what I wanted to do until I met a gentleman by the name of Nash, who introduced me to this infinite banking idea. And this was about 2006, 2007. Nelson introduced me to this idea. It was a crazy idea. I read the book, set it down, and I picked the book up again. I set it back down. I said, there's got to be something here. But it was so contrary to what I had been conditioned to think. And this is the point of my life where I started reading other books, expanding my horizons a little bit. Barry Dyke's book, Pirates of Manhattan, was a big influencer on how I thought, because it started to break those walls down a little bit about what you thought to be true turns out not to be. When would you want to know it? That's a Don Blanton line. If what you thought to be true turned out not to be, when would you want to know it? And so I was starting to learn that maybe all the stuff I had thought about being a certain way wasn't exactly that way. And so at that point, it started really to change my mindset. I thought there had to be a better way because everybody was getting the same results. I saw my family struggle. I saw other family struggles, and it was just all wrapped around the same thought process, right? And one of the reasons my family struggled is because the banker had convinced my dad to stop paying premiums on his life insurance because those premiums were expensive. They might have been expensive right up to the time where he died, right? And then they would have been the best dollars ever spent. But it was that thought process around it was expensive. But when I look back, it was probably the most expensive thing that he ever paid for. Right up to the point where he died and he canceled the policy 6 months prior to his death, the banker had convinced him that they were expensive. And so the thought process is really what I'm trying to get people to kind of question. And I don't necessarily want to say change because I don't necessarily want to be that person that is the gatekeeper. Unlike most people in the financial services industry, and this is what I learned, is that they all want to be your gatekeeper. In Nelson's book is becoming your own banker. It's not Wade becoming your banker. It's you becoming your own banker. It's me helping to empower you to take control of that function in your life. It's not me doing it for you because I don't want to be a gatekeeper. Because one, it's hard for me to, as much as I know people and understand people, it's not my money. It's not me doing these certain things. I'm just here to enable you and to empower you to take control of those functions in your life. So that's one of the biggest things. And then what I learned is that in order to be successful, we have to start with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is we need to have a plan. And if we don't have a plan, we drift. And it's hard to get anywhere when you drift. And so what I really started to learn from a good friend of mine, Kim Butler, was some certain principles that we have to have in our life. And so I've adopted these principles. And they're real simple. They're 8 simple principles, but they're really powerful. And so these are principles to prosperity, principles to that freedom that you're looking for. So the first one is we have to think, right? We have to understand that mindset matters. If you think and you convince yourself you're going to be poor or destitute all your life, or you're going to be rich all your life, then you're right. So however you think and however you understand is where you're going to go. So start changing your mind, start changing that thought process. That's the first one. And then question and say, have the people that had the same thought process had any better results or worse results than what I'm currently experiencing, right? So look at the herd mentality, right? There is a thought process around, I'm going to buy term, invest the difference. And my dad, he wasn't part of that movement, but he bought term and he thought that was the best thing. And then he canceled it because he was convinced to think that was an expensive premium to pay. We got terrible results from that. So why would I want to think the same way? So thinking and understanding, questioning. And in Nelson's book, he talks about the arrival syndrome. Fight the arrival syndrome every day. Don't think you know everything. Don't think you really know anything. Be the dumbest person in the room. Surround yourself with very intelligent, motivated people because that's going to just make you better. So think is the first one. C, be able to envision where you want to go. See the big picture. Have the end in mind where you want to accomplish. And maybe you don't even know what that is, but at least entertain the idea of what that might be and think big, right? So see big and think big. So that's the second one to see. Measure. That is measured is typically improved. That's at the end of the day. That's why we measure. Are we better off this year than we were last year? Are we making strides to be in a better position each and every day, each and every year? Have we measured ourselves against where we were last year? Don't measure yourselves against other people because that leads to jealousy. Look at other people in wonderment, but then measure yourself. Say, by understanding what that person is doing, did I make myself better? So measure yourself where you were at yesterday, the previous year, the previous 3 years, 5 years. Again, it's a long-term game that we're playing. Understand that. So that's number 3 is measure. Number 4 is flow. This is rather interesting. When you look at people that have high net worth that are quote unquote wealthy, they understand that their money has to flow. Nelson talks about money is a lot like water. I've actually done a couple of podcasts, so you can find our podcast you can go to sagewealthstrategy.com, or you can listen to the podcast and find out where we talk about money's like water. And I had this discussion with my son where we said that the most powerful thing you can have is like water. Water, when it flows, has got the most power. Water, when it's stored, becomes stagnant. So money and net worth really have to flow. And what I mean by that is don't hoard it, don't hold on to it. Put it to work. That's when it becomes super powerful. The next one, so that's flow. The next one is control. This is the one that I think a lot of people want to give up control. And this is the one where I really push back. And again, I don't want to control your money. I don't want to control your thought process. I want to empower you to take control. And what I mean by that is let's take a look at a 401k. When you absolutely need money, who's in control of that money? And if you have a business and you want to expand your business and you decide all I need is some money to expand my business, buy out my competition, whatever it is, and I don't have access to the money to make that happen, who's truly in control? Is the banker in control of my business? If he can give me the thumbs up or thumbs down to expand my business or to spend money to buy out my competition, whatever it is, and he's the one that can give me the authority to do it, who's truly in control of my business or of my personal life? I want to be the one that's in control. Move, right? Move is another one, is that you need to, obviously, if you stay static, people are going to pass you. You have to be in movement as well. Your thought process has to be in movement. We have to continually push ourselves to that next level. So move our money, move ourselves, move our mindsets as things develop, because we've changed our perspective. And so as we change our perspective, we have to be moving in that direction as well. And the last one is multiply. The last principle is to multiply. We need to multiply and have our dollars doing multiple things at one time. We need to leverage people as well. Don't think you need to do everything yourself. Find somebody that is an expert in those fields and then multiply your abilities. Find what you're really good at. There's a book called Who Not How, and there's a tremendous opportunity to say, who can do this better than I can do this? Whatever that is, and find out what is the one thing that you really enjoy doing, and then really concentrate on that, and then find somebody else who can do all the other things that you don't enjoy doing. So multiply your energy, multiply your talents by working with other people, finding other people that have like-minded thought process. And that's probably the big key here is don't just go find somebody that has a thought process or value standards or values that are in conflict with you, because what we want to do is align your values with your actions and then have other people join that team. But we want only those people on the team that are in alignment with what you believe and what you want to accomplish. Just because they're talented, if they work against you, doesn't make them any good. It actually works against what you're ultimately trying to accomplish. So these are our principles and our strategies that we work with at Sagewell Strategy. And I would say if you want to learn more about these, if you want to understand these, if you say, I completely understand, I buy in, I want to know more, I want to work with you, Wade, reach out to us. Wade at sagewellstrategy.com is my email. Hop on to Sagewell Strategy, click on the links in order to get access to my calendar, and let's have a conversation around how we can empower you to start going down this pathway as well. Because it's not difficult, it's not hard, it's just something you have to get on, you have to maintain, and you have to do, but it's always so much better when you have a partner, somebody that can enable you to do those things at a much higher level when you don't have to do all the things yourself. Let me be the expertise where I'm really good at, and I'll empower you to do those things that you really want to accomplish. So give us a call, reach out to us. We'd love to have that conversation with you. If you're enjoying this podcast or know anyone else that might be interested, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and please leave a review. This will help this podcast reach and help more people by ranking higher in searches and ultimately help more people get out of financial bondage. And don't be afraid to share this podcast with your friends and family, as we can be easily found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.